and our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Or the simple answer after all? You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not.
That became the monastery movement, or the female side of it. They actually wrote to the Pope and asked permission to have the sign of a married woman, even though they were not married, because they were married to Christ. So they have the ring, and they have the veil, and and then. So back then, back in old days, it was mostly the color that kind of, on the dresses. Maybe other women would have colors, and and they would keep to like the gray and white and black or whatever their order. Yes. Well, so it's actually just like the Amish beard. It's the sign of marriage.
Here's a good question, since we're talking about that. Where did the idea of priesthood celibacy, when did that arise?
Oh, that's money.
If you were to ask some Catholics nowadays, they would say, "Oh, it's right there in the New Testament." Obviously, not.
It started around year 1000, so halfway to here.
Really?
Before that, there was some people had ideas that it was proper,
Yeah.
And in what you got in the New Testament is like in some translations it says he shall only be married once. Mm-hmm. If you're like a bishop or like a shepherd for the flock. But in other translation it says he shall be one woman's man.
Yes.
So that's very different, right?
One woman man. Yep.
Yeah,
yes, that's another
so
way
you can read it like he's only getting married once, but doesn't have to mean that. I think he's going to be a faithful. He's going to be He's not. He's going to be a faithful man.
Yes,
that's the minimum of it. But
you also
however,
go ahead.
Yeah,
you also
I think it's just about the money.
Well, you also had. Verses where I think it's Paul is like, do we not have the right to take along a believing wife like Peter?
Yeah.
So and as long as that is reference, I mean, because a lot of guys were named Peter back then.
And you have the part where they say that when I'm gone, there's going to be wolves among you with like weird teachings that forbid marriage and certain kinds of food. Right.
Well, we know Peter was married because in the Gospels, Jesus went and healed Peter's mother-in-law.
Yeah.
From a fever.
So somewhere halfway here through Christianity, they started with the celibacy thing.
Yeah.
And it has one idea that is pretty good on paper, but that backfired totally. Yeah. And then you have the economical side of it. So let's start with the economical side.
Yeah.
If you got kids, you want to provide for your kids.
Oh yeah, as you should.
And that's so the property of the church is going to, it's going to dissolve for all the mouths to feed. Mm-hmm. So that so that's probably the real reason. The real reason is to keep the property of the church in the church.
Yes.
And I have a lot of priests just hoarding gold and stuff to make sure his kids have a good life.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. But then also, if you are a very pure-hearted person and you can have the idea that, well, if we have this very, very high standard, like this is a hard pill to swallow, celibacy. So then we will all only get the absolutely most burning in spirit and most faithful. And because when I mean, in the beginning you got killed for being Christian, and you got burned, and you got, eaten by lions and whatever. But
that's funny because
after
I was just listening to Behemoth Christians to the Lions on the way back home.
Yeah. yeah. So that is what happened. I mean, back then you couldn't really make a career out of churching, right?
No, not a church.
But yeah, but later when it became like a state religion, and you had all these offices and stuff, you got a lot of people that wasn't really maybe into the faith that made a career through the church.
Yeah.
And if you want to root them out, you set this very high standard. It's like, this is a sacrifice. Everyone knows it, right?
Yeah.
So you only going to get the best. But in reality, you're going to get the best and the worst.
Yeah.
You're going to get the best and those who don't fear God at all.
Yes. Yep.
All the normal people in between, they are sorted out.
Exactly. Which is a problem because most of your apostles and your deacons and things like that in the early church, they were normal guys. They were fishermen. I was reading that. I was thinking about that the other day when I was reading John, and here's the week or a couple of days after the resurrection, and they're up in Galilee. They're going fishing, and then they come back, and Jesus is there in the morning, and he's made a bonfire, cooking fish, and it's just like how down to earth in a way. Is that it's like he's a normal dude.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want for nothing. He makes me lie down in the green pasture.
And therein lies
He
the
greases
road
up
to
my
war.
head with oil.
Because
He
those
gives me
voices
kung
don't
fu
speak
in the
for the
face
rest
of my
of us.
enemy.